Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is James Douglas here. Just wanted to break down the NHL draft and what my New Jersey Devils are going to be doing going forward with the number one overall pick and who they should take and why. Now, I believe that the Devils should take Nico Hischier tonight with the first overall pick, the Halifax Mooseheads. And here's why I think they should take them and why I don't think that they should take Nolan Patrick. Not that I think that Patrick is going to be a bust, but just why I think Nico's a better player. So the number one argument I've heard for taking Patrick is because he's a bigger player and he's that big number one centerman, as Pierre Maguire would say, that big body presence. But Nico is only an inch shorter than he is. Nico is 6'1", Nolan Patrick is 6'2", and I think Patrick is about 200 pounds and Nico's about 175, 180. But Nico can get bigger in the weight room and gain weight, and he could make up for that. These guys are only 18 years old. They can still grow into their bodies and get bigger. So that right there is null and void. And another counter argument to that is the fact that if you look around the league in recent years, there have been so many smaller players with all kinds of skill who have really just been stepping in and just killing it. I mean, if you look at someone like Johnny Hockey, right, from New Jersey, he's like 160 pounds maybe, and he's just been killing it so far. If you look at someone like Tyler Johnson, he's been an excellent player. If you look at someone like maybe Connor Sheary, he's really been killing it. Nikita Kucherov, another great player who's not particularly big. Um, Even Joe Pavelski in San Jose, not a big player either. Patrick Kane, small player, skilled, but he doesn't get pushed around the playoffs. He's he's won 3 Stanley Cups. He has a Conn Smythe. He's had ridiculous scoring streaks. He has an Art Ross trophy. So that right there just goes to show that just because you're not big, that doesn't mean that you can't really kill it. And it's not like this is 2011 or 2012 where the big bad Bruins and the Los Angeles Kings, who were a really big physical team, are winning cups. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the last 2 years, they had all kinds of speed on their team. That's pretty much how they won. Um, so that right there is another kind of argument. The game is changing. It's not 2002. There's not as much emphasis on size and strength. And the third argument is that we already have a player like Zaka right now, who's a big center, who's over 200 pounds already. He's a pretty strong guy, and hopefully he can be a second line center, or he could possibly play on the wing. That's all up to the coaches. I'm not going to say what he should or shouldn't play. And the last argument is that even if Nico has issues with getting pushed around by bigger players, you can always acquire a winger like, I don't know, Cassian or Lucic or Maroon. I'm not saying we're going to get those specific players, but a similar type player to kind of protect him and shelter him and insulate him from getting pushed around. So that right there is why I think we should take the more skilled player, who I think is Nico. And I think if you watch their highlight reels for both of them, it's I mean, Nico just does more stuff that really wows you. I mean, Nolan's a good, still a very good player too. I think he'll be a good player in the NHL, but I think that Nico has a higher ceiling. Um, I mean, scouts are comparing him to Eric Stahl. No, they're comparing Nolan to Eric Stahl, and they're comparing Nico to Henrik Zetterberg. So, I mean, who would you rather have on your team? I know Eric Stahl's not a bad player. He had a renaissance season this year. He did win a cup back in Carolina in 2006. He was a very good player when he was younger, but overall, Henrik Zetterberg has just had a better body of work. And I've also heard talk the Devils might trade down to get someone like Kale Macker, who they were very interested in, especially before they knew that they were going to be picking number one. But I just don't see that happening. I don't think it should happen. If we were picking like third to fifth, I would definitely be interested in someone like him or Heiskanen, the guy from Finland. But since we're picking first or second, I think it should be Nico or Nolan, preferably Nico. Number one centers don't grow on trees, so I think when you have an opportunity to take one, you should take him. But with the way the defense has been this last year, especially after the loss of Larson, I think the focus in the later rounds of the draft should definitely be on defense. So almost all the picks in rounds 2 to 7 should be defensemen. Maybe we could trade a couple of picks to acquire a defenseman. Maybe we could trade up back into the first round to and get a defenseman like Callan Foot or maybe Timothy Liljegren or whoever. But these are really my thoughts on that. And besides, next year is already going to be a great draft for defensemen. Obviously, where the Devils are going to pick is going to depend on how they do this year. But um, so the next 2 years, we should obviously focus on defense with the draft and with trades and free agency. And I think if we can do that and we can get some good defensemen, I think by 2020, 2021, we should have a good team even though we have the number one pick, I still think we're not good enough to make the playoffs next year. I think the team is going to be too young, too inexperienced, which is fine, so that we can get a good, really good defenseman next year who we can build around. Most years you need a stud defenseman to win. You need someone like Letang, like Doughty, like Duncan Keith, even Tambay who made it. They had Hedman. I know Pittsburgh didn't have Letang this year, but they still, for the most part, you need a stud defenseman. It's a little bit harder to do it by committee. And back to an argument as to why they should take Nolan. People say they should take Nolan. People perceive that Nolan is more fundamental because they see Nico do all this flashy stuff, so they assume he's not as fundamental. And also because I think Nolan is from North America, Nico is Canadian, and that's a popular perception in hockey that European players aren't as fundamental. They're more skilled and flashy, and obviously since they play in a bigger ice surface, the game is going to be played a little bit differently. But I've actually heard from some scouts that Nico is the better all-around player. So it really wouldn't make sense to take Nolan if Nico's already more skilled offensively and he's a better all-around player. I don't see why they shouldn't take him. Um, because I know if you look at some of the players like maybe Kovalchuk earlier in his career, he wasn't really particularly a team player, and he didn't really play the best defense. And maybe if you look at someone like the Sedins, who kind of were a little bit soft and at times got pushed around in the playoffs, or maybe someone like Kovalev who had issues with his work ethic back in the day. Um, these are European players who had issues, but you really just can't prejudge people, not with drafting players in hockey, not in life. So that's why I think that they should take Nico Hischier tonight. I think he's going to be an excellent player in the NHL. I don't think he's going to be McDavid or Matthews, obviously, but I think he's going to be someone that we can build around and somebody who could possibly help us win a championship in 5, 10 years, or at least contend for one. So those are my thoughts. If I'm obviously looking forward to the draft, and I'll support whoever the Devils take. And I still think Nola is going to be a good player, but I think Nico is the better choice to make. Now, click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you want me to make more videos. I obviously know this is my first video and I'm new to YouTube, but I hope you all like this video. So anyways, have a nice weekend. Enjoy the draft. Talk to you soon. Ciao.